Hello, I'm Doreen Pietrantoni, an instructional technology specialist from Monroe Number 1 BOCES. Today, we are going to further our exploration through the New York State Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards, and we're going to focus on the concept area of digital literacy. For our welcoming activity, I'd like you to take a moment to think about what are your digital habits? And if you look in the form that accompanied this video, you'll see there's a link to another form that will allow you to share what your digital habits are. And we need to really think about this and think about how we are using technology personally, because our students are doing the same thing. So we want them to really think about their digital habits and how secure their personal identifiable information is, as well as having the skills to know what to do if their information is compromised. So you can either pause the video and fill out the form now, or you can do it after you're done with the video. So our learning objectives today are to understand the why of the standards, explore the digital literacy concept area, and brainstorm activities that will meet the standards. So first, let's focus on the background of the standards, the why, like why were these created? And you'll see by this vision here that it says every student will know how to live productively and safely in a technology-dominated world. This includes understanding the essential features of digital technologies, why and how they work, and how to communicate and create using those technologies. These standards will prepare our students not only for their K-12 career, their college career, their career after college, but life as well. These are definitely life skills. According to the United States Department of Labor Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment of computer and information technology occupations is projected to grow 13% from 2016 to 2026, faster than the average for all occupations. These occupations are projected to add about 557,000 new jobs. And these hundreds of thousands of new jobs offer significantly higher than average pay. The median wage for computer and information technology occupations is higher than all other occupations. So that's really important for us to think about, okay, the why of these standards. We need to prepare our learners for these occupations. These occupations are growing. Also, computer and information technology is becoming part of all types of industries, right? So industries where you might not think you might need computer skills to be successful, you will. Things like the fashion industry, now they're selling digital fashion as part of a new emerging facet of the fashion industry. Baking, auto mechanics, cars have computers. Baking, you're using computerized equipment. You're using things like social media and other ways to promote your business, and definitely digital ways to manage your business. So thinking about those type of careers, these computer and information technology occupations are immersed in numerous industries. And because this is happening, it has shifted us from the third industrial revolution to the fourth industrial revolution. So in the beginning of the 90s, we started having smartphones and social media, and that ballooned and has, spread exponentially to all sorts of new creations of different media and social media and ways that people are communicating and interacting. Now we're in that intelligence. So we have moved from computing to intelligence, and that's because we are now finding the emergence of artificial intelligence, right? So we have like Alexa in our home. We have a Nest thermostat. We have a Ring doorbell that we can communicate and interact with, and it does different things for us in our home. We have, our smartphone has turned into a smartwatch, and we have autonomous vehicles. In the early 90s, in my opinion, the thought of autonomous vehicles was something way, way in the future. And now that future is here. So looking at these different ideas with like the biotech and robotics and quantum computing, that is what has pushed us into this intelligence revolution. So we need to prepare our learners to be successful in this fourth industrial revolution. Couple more reasons why. Let's focus on New York State. There are almost 21,000 open computing jobs, and this data is from 2020, with the average salary of almost $106,000. However, only 48% of public high schools teach a computer science course. So first of all, we need to get all of our high schools teaching computer science. We also need to make sure that we're exposing our learners to computer science standards, because we need to build their skill as they go from kindergarten through elementary and into secondary, but also because we want to increase their curiosity and their desire to take computer science courses, so that can prepare them for a job in the future. And by starting implementing the standards in kindergarten, this is really going to scaffold their skills with appropriately through the different grade bands, so that they are becoming fluent in these standards by the time, have that mastery by the time they graduate from high school. Also, these standards will help develop the most important hard skills and soft skills that recruiters and hiring managers are looking for. And again, this is from 2020. So you look at these hard skills. They want high-level IT skills, but also that basic computer knowledge. Our learners need to be fluent through different computer devices, as well as databases and different resources. We need to have flexible learners, and by developing their skills with the computer science and digital fluency standards, they will have that flexibility. And you'll look at these presentation skills, that project management, writing, marketing, graphic design. I think that's really important for our teachers to know that these are the skills that we really need to bolster in our students, so that they have them in their toolkit for when they go through college and get into their careers. And the same with the soft skills, communication, problem solving. Problem solving immediately makes me think of the computational thinking concept band of the standards, right? You're doing that computational thinking, you're doing debugging in different iterations. That's where that problem solving comes in. And looking at organization, emotional intelligence, decision making, stress management. The way we are learning has certainly changed after the past couple of years, but also the way that we are working has been changing for several years, right? Because of the internet and the way that we can communicate quickly, we're a global workforce, not just focused on New York State or the United States. And now that workers are working from home or different environments instead of going to the traditional office, we need to have our learners be able to communicate, because they're not going to be in the same room with each other, because they might be working with somebody in a different country. Time management is huge. That problem solving, organization, decision making, and stress management all come into play with that ever changing workplace that we're looking at now. I mean, more people are working at home. They need to have these skills in order to be successful in their jobs. And when they go to college, right? A lot of these skills will certainly come in handy as our learners go to college. Let's look at the digital literacy standards. First of all, to read the standards, you're going to have your grade band, your concept area, and your standard number. There are 5 concept areas, and we're focusing on digital literacy today. Here is a particular standard where you have the grade band listed, which is grades 4 through 6. Your standard identifier has the grade band 4 through 6. DL stands for digital literacy, and it's standard number 1. And then you have your standard language. Type on a keyboard while demonstrating proper keyboarding technique. What is great about these standards is they come with a clarifying statement. So the focus is on direct instruction and keyboarding. Instruction should focus on form over speed and accuracy. That's really important to think about, and it helps us understand that this standard is not focused on my students typing 40, 50 words a minute, and they might not be super accurate. We want them to get that form down and start developing that. And then as they go to the next grade band, they're going to be able to have more skills developed from that. Digital literacy has 2 sub-concept areas: digital use and digital citizenship. When these standards were first developed, the digital literacy concept area was huge. There was numerous standards in it, and it's been boiled down to 7 standards. Some of the standards have been pulled into impacts of computing concept area and cybersecurity concept area. As the reviewers looked at the standards after they were created by the initial group, They looked at where there was redundancy and where there was a better alignment to a concept area. So if you go back and look at the impacts of computing and the cybersecurity, you'll see some standards where you might have initially thought those were digital literacy standards like digital use and digital citizenship, but they are more appropriately aligned in those other concept areas. Take a moment to read the definition of digital literacy. We're going to move on to the definitions of digital use and digital citizenship. Digital use, digital technologies are a part of everyday life. A variety of digital tools exist to create, revise, and publish digital artifacts, as well as communicate and collaborate with others. I think we certainly saw an insurgence of learners using digital tools such as their cloud environment tools to create, revise, publish, communicate, and collaborate with others. You know, that ease of collaboration certainly has been made possible through the cloud computing, and it's something that our learners are really using a lot and used a lot during the pandemic and closures. And hopefully teachers are continuing to use those resources to help their students meet these standards. Take a moment to read the definition of digital citizenship. So thinking about this, we definitely want to encourage our learners to have a positive digital footprint. We want them to be able to engage in online communities in a positive way, you know, being respectful of others' beliefs and, you know, understanding that some of the online sources of information might have bias or just be definitely fake news, for lack of a better term. So the digital citizenship standards will help our learners with that. So let's look at a few of the standards. So this is from digital use, and I didn't start at number one because we looked at that one earlier, but we have standard 3 here, and you'll see that as you go through the different grade bands, you'll see that they're definitely start with some basic and then add on some rigor in order to appropriately build this knowledge with our learners. So if we look at grade band K1, conduct a basic search based on a provided keyword. So the students aren't coming up with a keyword, the teacher's providing it, and they're doing a basic search. When we get to grade band 2-3, conduct basic searches based on student identified keywords. So students are looking at what they want to search for, and they're coming up with the best keywords. Grade band 4-6, conduct and refine advanced multi-criteria digital searches to locate content relevant to varied learning goals. So let's say they're doing a research paper, you know, they're going to be able to define, you know, refine their searches in a way that's going to find the best information for their learning goals. And part of that comes with even evaluating those sources. And then we get to grade band 7-8, compare types of search tools, choose a search tool for effectiveness and efficiency, and evaluate the quality of search tools based on returned results. So this, when students are in grade band 7-8, they should have mastery of this standard, and there is no standard for this for grade band 9-12. And then when we look at standard 4, you know, your grade band K1, use it, at least one digital tool to create a digital artifact. And then we jump to grade band 4-6, use a variety of digital tools and resources to create and revise a digital artifacts. And then when we get to 9-12, independently select advanced digital tools and resources to create, revise, and publish complex digital artifacts or collection of artifacts. So really looking at how the standards build upon each other and are appropriate for each grade band. So let's look at digital citizenship. In this concept area of digital literacy, there are 7 standards, like I mentioned before. So if we look at K1 grade band, it says identify actions that promote good digital citizenship and those that do not. This could certainly be a whole group discussion about this. A teacher could help by using like maybe pictures or videos to share information with learners to explain this idea. There's some great resources out there that your district may have access to. And then you can certainly have students have table conversations, paired conversations, and you can create a chart that lists good digital citizenship and bad digital citizenship, thinking about that way. I'm going to jump to grade band 4-6, identify and describe actions in online spaces that could potentially be unsafe or harmful. So they're, it's age appropriate. They might be going on to online spaces such as databases, and they might be searching for something for a research project or something that they're doing in their class. So having them identify and describe actions that could be unsafe or harmful so that they recognize this, and they're building their toolkit, their digital citizenship toolkit. So as they start in K1, go to 2-3, go to 4-6, they're building on that and developing mastery over the standards. And then if we go to grade band 9-12, design and implement strategies that support safety and security of digital information, personal identity, property, and physical and mental health when operating in the digital world. Now, I'm going to read the clarifying statement. Statements that support positive mental health in a digital world include both ways to avoid or handle cyberbullying and ways to interact positively and constructively with others in connected spaces. So certainly that cyberbullying is a big issue, right? So we want our learners to be aware of that and make sure that they are being positive in their online interactions. I think some of the problems with perhaps social media is there's a level of anonymity, and people are a little more free to perhaps not be positive because the person can hide their identity and somebody might not know who they are. So that, is something that as we go through this standard and go through the grade bands, our students are building on these skills. And by the time they're in the 9-12, they are able to, implement those strategies that support safety and security of digital information. So thinking about their personal identifiable information, it says personal identity property. So by, 9-12, you might have bank accounts, you might have, Venmo or Cash App accounts or things like that, where you have to really protect that. And then also pulling in that cyber bullying and protecting their physical and mental health when operating in a digital world. So these illustrate that focus of standard number 7. I'm going to have you review your grade band of the digital literacy standards, but first I want you to have a quick tour of the state ed site that houses the standards. So the link you can find is in the description of the video or in the form that will take you right to this website. And you'll see we have some documentation here that will help us implement the standards. So you have your full document here that has all the standards, all the concept areas, as well as how and why the standards were developed, which includes the guiding principles and lenses that they were used to be reviewed. You have your glossary of terms. It's very important that we are using the appropriate terms when we are doing things with our learners. So if we're developing a list of what we should do or list of procedures, we can start using that word algorithm, or we can talk about debugging. You have an Excel version of the standards. You have the learning standards by grade band. I'm going to pop one of these open just so that you can see. I'm going to scroll slowly. This is 7 pages. What's nice about this is it has all the concept areas. It has the sub-concept areas on the left-hand side. You have your standard and you have your clarifying statement. So if you're not familiar with the standards, you can certainly print this one out and keep it next to your computer, because it not only has a standard, but it also has that clarifying statement, which helps us understand the standard. You have a document that has examples of how teachers have met these standards. There's at least 2 examples per standard for all of the concept areas and grade bands. We have the at a glance standards documents. Standard at a glance documents are great because it's 2 pages. So I can print this out as a double-sided page. I have these printed out and next to my computer, and I'm looking at them almost daily for all the grade bands to help support teachers. But this just has the concept area, the sub-concept area, and then all the different standards. It will tell you if the standard doesn't begin to a different grade band, so it'll be highlighted here. And it's a really quick at a glance document that is very helpful to have at your fingertips. So as we review our grade band, I want you to go to that website and determine if you want to look at the standards by grade band or at a glance. It's up to you. And just look at your grade band, look at the different standards for your grade band. And then if you have time, look at the grade band before or after your grade band, because this will help you to know exactly what you need to prepare your students for, or how your students are coming into your classroom with this standard knowledge. Okay, we are going to pull back together, and I'd like to go over a few examples before we talk about implementing these standards. So if you look at this list here, I have an example for each grade band highlighting different standards. So looking at grade band 1, this is an ELA example. Students can use a keyboard to type words beginning with the letter of the alphabet for a class book or presentation. You could also have students typing the first letter of a sight word that they're learning, the first letter of their name, their last name, things like that. Now, this is on an actual keyboard. Sometimes our primary learners have iPads, so that keyboard is a little different on the iPad unless you have them in a case that has the attached keyboard or a plug-in keyboard. Sometimes teachers print out a keyboard and have it on the table for learners to type. That's a full-size keyboard so that they're getting used to working with that. It depends on your learners and depends on what resources you have. Grade band 2-3, communicate and work with others using digital tools to share knowledge and convey ideas. So this example is another ELA example. Students use a shared online document to add to a graphic organizer about a book read in a guided reading lesson. So that online document, they're definitely collaborating there on a graphic organizer. That's the beauty of that cloud computing, allowing other people to have access to what we're working on. And then this is an ELA example. I really would like to stress that these standards are K-12, all curricular areas, and you can see where this was implemented into ELA lesson. Let's go to grade band 4-6, identify and describe actions in online spaces that could potentially be unsafe or harmful. Students create PSAs on online safety and cyberbullying to include in district newsletter, school newsletter, or just basic newspaper, or make posters to put up in the middle school. So they're developing a PSA. This could be a poster that they have created digitally. It could be a poster that they have created by drawing. It's on online safety and cyberbullying, so they could target it so that it's looking at what perhaps learners in grade band 2-3 need to know, or learners in grade band 7-8 need to know. So they're learning not only their standard band, but also thinking about the perspective of others. And they could put this up in their school, they could put it on their website. There's a lot of great ways to meet this standard. Grade band 7-8, standard number 4, select and use digital tools to create, revise, and publish digital artifacts. I love this one. In collaborative groups, students will create anti-cyberbullying commercials. So they're recording something, or they're perhaps creating a slideshow presentation and recording that, and an accompanying infographic for parents. I love that idea because these learners are going to be teaching parents about anti-cyberbullying. So it's really a great way for them to meet and have mastery with this standard and be thinking about digital citizenship and digital use. Grade band 9-12, actively manage digital presence and footprint to reflect an understanding of the permanence and potential consequences of actions in online spaces. So this is really relevant to this grade band. It's something that is could be a focus for many of the learners. Pretend to be a college admissions and give some digital samples of digital footprints of potential students. who would get in college, who would not, and why. This is really important because colleges are looking at this. There's numerous examples of sports in sports for college where the coaches have passed on giving a scholarship to a potential student because of their digital footprint. Last I looked, it was about 78% of employers are looking at the digital footprint of potential hirees. So really thinking about that, thinking about getting our learners to really look at that digital footprint, recognize that it doesn't disappear and that it can follow them and have potential consequences. And that permanence and potential consequences is should be really important to that grade band. All right, so take a moment and brainstorm some integration ideas for your curricular area and grade band. So you can go back and revisit the website and look at some different examples of the standards from the digital literacy. But thinking about something that you're teaching in your class, maybe in the near future, how could you align the digital literacy standards to that current lesson? And I'll give you a few moments to do that. Okay, we're going to pull back together. I'm sure you have come up with some awesome ideas, and I would certainly love to hear those ideas. So please, when you're done with this video, take a moment to fill out that form that this video was housed in to make sure that you're sharing your ideas. I want to know your ideas, and then that will help me work with other educators as well. Okay, so we have looked at the standards. We've talked about the why of the standards. We've looked at some examples. You've done some brainstorming. What are your biggest challenges to implementing these standards and aligning them to your lessons? Take a moment to think about that and please list it on the form that houses this video so that you can share it with me. If you have any questions, I'm always here to work with you. So if it's something that I can help with, please list it on that form. I want to thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you listening and learning about the New York State Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards, and especially the current concept area that we're exploring, the digital literacy. If you have any questions, my email is in the form. If you are from a Monroe-Wauboces region school district, I can certainly come out and help you, provide more professional development, work with you to integrate the standards into your curriculum, even with your team or your building. If you're not in the Monroe-Wauboces region, please contact me and I can help guide you to the person that can help you from your BOCES. Thank you and have a good day.